Good morning and welcome to all our esteemed guests who are present here today as we celebrate and honor our country's women trailblazers. Can I take this opportunity also to welcome our four esteemed panelists. We have in the room Ms. Liz Lizualo. You're welcomed, Liz. Can I also acknowledge Ms. Buhle Mthethwa, who's going to be part of our panelists today. Ms. Tessa Dooms is also present in our midst. And also Tumi Sifulo is also present in our midst. I take this opportunity to celebrate our country's women across the country. I know that our keynote speaker, Dr. Tadise Moleko, is later going to propound on today's theme, that of chasing women's destinies, enhancing our nation's future. I want to believe that such a destiny is the one which we hold in ourselves. It is the continuous and determined chasing of this destiny that I can today confidently say has been able to shape many destinies of our heroic women. It is these destinies that tell us that's something. It is these destinies that tell us something about our heroic women. These are women who have been able to shake off the benumbing societal spell that sought and still seeks to robotize them. They instead realize the responsibility to themselves and society as a whole, that of breaking ranks and remain free from societal challenges which seek to perpetually thrust them to the bottom rank of the ladder in our society. From all the stories I have read about our heroic women, there's a common permeating theme I have picked up from these inspirational stories. It is a theme that was once propounded by John F. Kennedy when it reminded us that every accomplishment starts with a decision to try and try and try and try. Heroic women are those who row against the tide. They have progressed through the difficult sufferings and the struggles of our women in society. I am, however, inspired by their surge of passion. It is a surge similar to the one that can lift an exhausted player from the temptation of giving up or throwing the towel in the face of defeat or in the face of adversity. It deeply pains my heart today to note the turbulence that is engulfing the girl child as we gather here today on this webinar. It cannot be business as usual when more than 100 babies. It cannot be business as usual when more than 100 pupils get pregnant at school. It cannot be business as usual when more than 900 babies are delivered by pupils between the ages of 10 and 14 years in a period of 1 year. How do we enhance our nation's future when more than 19,000 of our school girls of between the ages of 14 and 19 give birth in a period of 1 year in a classroom? Are we not failing them? We have a responsibility to ourselves and the society as a whole to protect the girl child if this nation's future is to be enhanced. The girl child's dream and a chase for her for her destiny is cruelly being wiped away. I would like us in this webinar to truly reflect on this situation, which is rapidly developing into a national crisis. I do believe that Dr. Moleko is going to expound on all these matters that are facing the women and the children of our societies today. We as a Sunday World are extremely honored to be part of these heroic journeys. We are so honored, and we also pledge to continue to be part of these creative and audacious campaigns and efforts to blossom and enhance the soul of our nation's women and youth. I would also like to ask our audiences to ask questions immediately after the panelists have deliberated on the issues of today. And before I can hand over to Dr. Moleko, I would like to be allowed an opportunity just to say a few things about Dr. Nthabiseng Moleko's background. Dr. Moleko is the Deputy Chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality. She's the author and avid poet. She's the development economist who was the first Black South African appointed as a core faculty member at the University of Stellenbosch Business School. Dr. Moleko, as a former CEO at the George Garvey Economic Development Agency, has been the project manager and researcher at the Eastern Cape Socio-Economic Consultative Council. She has worked extensively in the economic development landscape. The Minister of Trade and Industry appointed her as a board of trustee for the National Empowerment Fund, where she chaired the board's investment committee between 2018 and 2020. Her book, which is titled Been Chasing Destiny, is a call to all of us to better the nation using our gifts. That is all what we are here about today. I wish everybody very fruitful conversations today, the conversations that are really going to shape our destinies, the conversations that are going to enhance our future as a nation. Thank you.
A very good day to everyone who's joined us today for the amazing Heroic Woman webinar. I'm very honored, Mr. Mbele, for that amazing introduction. But more importantly, just to acknowledge our amazing nominees who are here today, the panelists who are joining us and the attendees that are here today. I'd like to acknowledge also the editor of the Sunday World, together with his fantastic team who have put together today and planned it to celebrate our women who have done amazing things during the year, but not only during the year. We know that it's not just Women's Month. In Women's Month, for many of us, we continue to do what we do in our stead throughout the year. I'm grateful also to celebrate the women who are nominees here today across the various spheres of influence, and a very warm and excited welcome from me to you all. Today is a difficult day for me as well. We are celebrating in a time where there is much instability. There's been national unrest. We also know that situations on a socioeconomic level, there's worsening unemployment. People's livelihoods are really in disarray. There's disheartening levels of gender-based violence, and more horrific stories are being announced in the media of late, and a plethora of issues and challenges that are well documented daily. What I think for us, however, we need to know in such times is that people who will be light in these dark times, who need to bring solutions to the national problems and crises we find ourselves, are you and I. Those who need to bring solutions both to institutions and some of the national crises that are at our feet today. And I believe it is this reason I'm very encouraged by the women who are nominated today, those who are here, who are contributing towards making the nation a better place. But I also want to encourage us to do more. And I think the question that I want to answer today is, where does it all start? As heroic women, where did it start for yourselves? But I can share a little bit about myself and how it started with me chasing my own destiny and how I ended up here today, and where I believe this is just the beginning and we have a very long way to go. So I want to emphasize today that we as women have got to chase our destiny. I want to emphasize that we as South Africans have got to chase and pursue our destiny. But our destinies require us to be the best version of ourselves. The first thing I want to say to us here today is that be the best version of yourself. How I ended up doing the things I do, I'm very passionate about development of youth. I'm very passionate about the economy and economic development. But I understood that there is no other me except me. There is no one who can do what I need to do except for me. And I think the very same message goes to you. I grew up in a region formerly known as the Transkei. I don't know how many of you are familiar, the former Bantustan in the Eastern Cape. And we're really surrounded by a very large population, which is rural. So I would ordinarily go see my gran, maybe 30 Ks outside of Mthatha. Most of the road was gravel. Now, maybe the last 15 years, we have seen more infrastructure development. There is actual tars now on the road. We simply travel now maybe 3 minutes to get to the homestead. Before, it would be an hour on gravel, and we were used to it. You know, in the town, very much around rural areas, you'll see what we call the Transkei robots, which are cows, you know, goats, you know, cows, sheep on the road. I grew up in a very much a rural situation, but what comes with rural areas is also pervasive poverty, underdevelopment, lack of infrastructure. And I realized that as I grew, that there has to be a way to resolve some of these issues. In the long run, I decided, let me study in the area of economics. I initially had begun looking at information systems at UCT, and I registered to do law because my dad was in that field. But I realized after doing a course called political economy that I wanted to pursue issues around making justice a reality in the world, South Africa, and the nations at large. And so I translated to doing economics. I ended up working in asset management, and there was a problem that I saw there. And then I began to look at how is it that we have all the billions that we manage, but the inequality, the poverty in South Africa persists. And I do not see any clear linkages to how we are using the issue of capital to resolve some of the national issues. So at the time, no one had told me about it, but I really wanted to look at the issue of how we use finance for development, how we use capital for development, how we use finance for solutions on the country, more directly so. And I didn't know there was a discipline called development finance. I later did research, and I found that there was a course at the Stellenbosch Business School called Development Finance Masters. I registered and I quit my job, and I was so frustrated because I wanted to find how do we use financial and global capital to channel these to developmental issues, particularly in emerging markets. So I researched this. I saw that this is a national and a global discipline. This is actually a way in which countries resolve problems. And I was concerned because I didn't see how African economies were using their financial markets more decisively concerning this matter. So I eventually ended up doing a PhD in this because I'd gone then back to development after I finished the master's. I worked in a development agency. I wanted to grow the Eastern Cape. I came back to rural Eastern Cape. I worked in one of the very small regions in the northern parts of the Eastern Cape. And I found that the issues of capital, of financial allocation remained. And I realized that there's got to be a solution. I went back to school. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of using education to skill and equip and capacitate yourself. I said there's a fundamental problem even with institutions. And then I did my research on pension reform towards national development, the case for South Africa. So I've done extensive papers on this, but one of the things was to solve the problem of finance for development. And I really have a solution which I was able to research, think through. It took 3 to 4 years, by the way. But I want to encourage us. If we are going to get Africa and South Africa out of the quagmire, we've got to be capacitated. We've got to build ourselves. We've got to build our skills and capabilities. So I want to say to us, the heroic women who are here, those of us who are here, if we are going to solve the emerging market issues, the West is not going to solve our issues. The Bretton Woods institutions are not going to solve our issues, unfortunately. It is us. It is us who have got to research. It is us who have got to find the problems and look at the problems hard on, and then look at what can we do in response, and looking at best practice, but also conforming it to the African situation. So I want to encourage us, be the best version of yourself. As a heroic woman, and those who are on the panel, even men who are here, if we build and equip ourselves in our competencies, it is us who will be able to nurture our own talent. And I remember one thing, a diamond, which is now called a man's best friend, was found in the rough, but it was not always shiny and polished. But it is you who has to now polish your skills so you can get the best out of yourself and give the best of yourself to those around you and the institutions around you. So I want to encourage us, number one, be the best version of you. If it means going back to school, do it. If it means researching further, do it. If it means getting the skills and spending time developing yourself so you can give back, we want that from you. I think the second thing I want to encourage us with today, despite the darkness, let us have a vision. Though it tarry, wait for it. I know that one of the drivers for me, and I know I'm a bit different from most people, problems don't tire me. Problems excite me. I see challenges in the nation. I ask myself, what is therefore my role? I see problems in institutions. I ask myself, what therefore have I been placed there for? There is no family that is perfect. I see problems even at a micro level. And I ask myself, what therefore is my role? And I believe that it's the same for us. If we are constantly looking at problems and giving them to other people, it is a fact we will never solve anything at a micro level, even at a macro level. So my best word to you would be today, those who have found a problem and are researching and are solving it, great. Those of us who are still looking, continue to look. There is a macro problem, and I want to give us an example. In the world today, the Oxford University research has shown us that there are approximately 341 million people in Africa who are going to be in the middle income by 2030. So we would have more than duplicated from 2009. We're currently on 114 million middle income. But with the 6% emerging market economy growth, particularly in the central and the northern parts of Africa and Eastern Africa, we're seeing a multiplicity of growth and abundance. This means that there'll be a $10 to $100 daily allowance for those 341 million people. We see problems in Africa. I see opportunity. Ask yourself, who's going to feed those people? Ask yourself, where will the household goods come from which feed, clothe, and keep those people consuming? Is it Africans? Is it South Africans with the Continental Free Trade Area? Is it going to be yourself? Ask yourself, what manufacturing will make the construction material they need for those houses that they need to reside in? Ask yourself, who will make those materials? Is it going to continue to be the monopolies, the oligopolies that we see in our suburbs, in our manufacturing hubs that are not necessarily including us? Ask yourself, which products will they eat? Are they your products? Are they mine? Are we going to import them? Ask yourself, what role will the rural and township economies have in repairing and rebuilding and making a contribution to this, particularly because that is where the labor is, but also that is where the land is. My answer is that it is you and I in those areas who will be the answers and a response to these issues. And it's a fact that I believe that if we as people look at our disciplines and make decisive decisions to answer some of the fundamental challenges on our continent and nation, it is us who will therefore respond to some of the biggest market failures of our time. The third and the last thing that I want to share with us today is, for me, after I was able to decisively be the best version of myself, equip myself. I was able to set a vision and make sure that around the issues of economic inequality, poverty, and gender activism, I respond to the problems of our time and I make sure that I make a contribution. But the third thing I had to set in my mind to rebuild. I think we need more servants of the people than ever before. I think we need more people who are going to build what is a desolation. Is there not a cause for our towns, our cities, our economies, our institutions, and our places of worship? What does rebuilding mean? I think for me, we've got to accept, if I look back in the World War II, after the decimation of the World War II, there was no Germany. It was broken down in disrepair. But if you go back, if you go now to Munich, if you go and travel to Germany, you'll find one of the biggest infrastructure setups. You'll find the most strong Tibetan artisanal class that was established after the World War, where there was nothing left, nothing remained. What rebuilding effectively means is when you have destroyed or found things destroyed in a state of disrepair, someone has to have the vision and build from the foundation up. And I believe in many of our spheres, domains, whether you look at the government, the institutions around that help the people in the most lower income deciles, whether you look at economic infrastructure, whether you look at the economy, whether you look at families, whether you look at the moral degeneration that is happening. We have to build from nothing. Most things are broken down and in disrepair. We read about it daily. But the question is, have we as South Africans set in our mind and in our hearts to rebuild? I think we as South Africans in our respective areas of work have to be the ones who take responsibility. Is it a difficult process? Absolutely. Will there be some cost overruns? Will the planning go as usual, or will there be derailed to the plans? I think as per any building project or any building process, there are always cost overruns. There are always things that you cannot mitigate or plan for. But what we need today in South Africa, as I close, is those who have set in their minds to rebuild. And I want to encourage us all, every contestant, every attendee today, if you leave with one thing after I've spoken, leave with this. A mind and a heart to rebuild this nation is what we require. Nothing less will take South Africa to where she needs to go. Not any other person, but even us 85 people in this room and those that are watching, you and I are going to be the vessels that need to start the process. I thank you very much. I'm going to now introduce the panelists. After the panelists have been introduced, I want to start with Tessa Dooms, who will introduce herself, and then I will go to the next panelist. We're going to have a very warm and engaging panel discussion with the 4 panelists that are here. And I'll start now with Tessa Doom. Tessa Doom is a youth development specialist and academic, and I hand over to her to just quickly give a brief introduction before I go to the next panelist.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction and for having me here. Yes, my name is Tessa Dooms, and I'm a youth development practitioner, but have taken very different hats in that role. I've worked in academia as a sociology lecturer. I've worked in civil society running an organization called Youth Lab, a youth policy think tank. I've been appointed as a national planning commissioner in the last 5 years with a focus on youth development. And I'm a member of the Kagiso Trust Board, where I also engage with a wide variety of issues that relate to young people's lives. Mine is a commitment to, even though I'm no longer youth, advocate for space for young people, ensure that young people's needs and their unique contributions that they can make are seen, heard, and felt in our society, but most importantly, to be led by young people and to make space both in our consciousness and in our psyches as South Africans, and in the positions and the places where we have power, to make sure that young people are able to enter those spaces, lead those spaces, and change the South Africa to being something that we all want to be a part of. And not only our country, but also our continent. I believe that we have a mission and a role that young people can play throughout this continent in unifying our efforts. And so mine is to create that kind of space so that young people's lives can be better and thrive. And so I look forward to engaging today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very powerful and dynamic, Tessa Dooms. Next is Liz Letswalo, who is an entrepreneur and the founder of Mosadi Organics. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ntabiseng, and hello, everyone. My name is Liz Letswalo. I'm super honored to be here with you today. I am the founder of Mosadi Organics. It's a beauty brand, that is aimed primarily at uplifting Black people and people of color. We focus on hair care and skin care. And our products have been, and brand has been growing over the years. We have now, expanded our services beyond just South Africa. We are found in Botswana as well as Namibia as well. And the reason I started Mosadi Organics was threefold. One was I wanted to create a product that would, recognize the injustices primarily that have been done towards, minority groups. You can think of Black people, you can think of people from the LGBTQ plus community, and so on. I wanted to create a product that primarily was focused on these groups of people that could uplift them. But beyond that, that was a quality that one could trust and a quality that was visible to the eye. When you look at this product, it was there to make us feel good about ourselves. It was, there to make us understand that we are worthy of not just, utilitarian product, but something that actually brings us a sense of delight and a sense of luxury. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I'm trying to, address through Mosadi Organics is creating an organization that really is going to see itself as a change maker in society. We have an unemployment issue in South Africa. We have an issue of, equity in terms of business investments, particularly for Black women. We have the issue of just being part of meaningful value chains in South Africa, in Africa, and globally. And what I wanted to do was to create an organization that really was going to be able to see itself at the forefront of solving meaningful problems from a socio-economic perspective. As we speak, Mosadi Organics employs 100% Black female employees, and I'm really proud of that. I'm looking to diversify the team a bit more, but I think it's important for me to know and to not be shy about the fact that we are trying to bring in a strong Black female-led team that is excellent, that is brilliant, and that is unashamed. And I think lastly, what I'm trying to do is to create, curate a culture, to be a carrier of culture in some shape or form for Black people, for colored people in South Africa and other people of color across the world, to be able to shape the narratives of the world through beauty or through a beauty journey. And I think this could have been done in many other ways. I chose to do it through beauty, and I intend on doing it, through many other ventures as time unfolds. So thank you so much, and I look forward to engaging today.
Thank you so much, and I hope we are able to be told by you where we can grab some of your products. Our next panelist is Buhle Mthethwa, a veteran business leader, renowned business leader, who currently sits in the Senate of the Black Business Council. Over to you.
Greetings to everyone, my fellow panelists, the management of Sunday World that has given us an opportunity to be amongst the giants that are in the fold. A deep appreciation to everyone for joining us this afternoon. Today one is actually dealing with a topic that is very fundamental and that requires us to put our heads together as women. My belief has always been the fact that women are the nucleus and the backbone of society. In that respect, I think with the ability and the skills that women have, we can actually consolidate that and drive an agenda that impacts positively on the society. But who am I? I'm simply Buhle, a girl that actually came from humble beginnings, however, from a very strong family background that has actually instilled strong value systems which have driven me to be where I am today in relation to my leadership skills and my leadership role, which is a part that I'm truly passionate about. In all of this, I'm driven by those values that I took from home. And those values are values of integrity, credibility, love, and humility. That has driven me to be where I am in terms of my different roles in different boards, in leadership within organized business. And that sustained me even to crack the ceiling within a patriarchy environment where I've been able to break that ceiling in male-dominated environments and being able to lead within that space. I think the values, the strong values that I have put me in good stead in relation to cracking those. But what are the lessons that I can actually share with everyone? That how do you actually succeed within that space? It is believing in yourself, having that confidence. However, also skilling yourself technically. But primarily for me, it is the softer issues, which are underplayed many times. The softer issues of just having humility and being able to listen to others and just going back to the basics of how we're socialized by implementing issues of Ubuntu. And I really am passionate about that truly, more especially during this period in time where our society is facing a number of social ills that are there. It is important for us to go to those basics and instill those values in our kids. More especially us as women, we have a primary and pivotal role because we birth these kids, we nurture them, we socialize them, both girls and boys. And it is pivotal for us right now to put our heads together and go back to the basics of saying how do we actually instill that and impact positively in growing our society, because the time bomb that we have currently is just stemming from that space of saying instill proper value systems in our society. We can talk about all sorts of things, economy and everything, but if we don't go back to those basics as women, there is no future for generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you. The fundamentals are important. The veteran has spoken. Thank you for those powerful introspective words. Last but not least, Tumi Safolo, small business development expert and currently an executive in SIFA. Please, I welcome you to just introduce yourself briefly.
Thank you very much, Ntabiseng, and good afternoon, ladies. I'm extremely honored to join this panel this afternoon. I am a daughter of an entrepreneur. I'm also one of 3 girls in my family, but I'm also a mother to 3 girls. So one of the things that makes today quite meaningful for me is that not only in terms of what Ntabiseng was saying earlier about, identifying what your purpose is that for me to find myself operating in the SMME finance space was not a coincidence, but to be even more passionate about women's issues, given the fact that I'm raising 3, which I would like to believe will be very powerful women, puts at the center part of my purpose in life. I do believe that SMMEs really do have the ability to change this country. It's been well documented that if we as a country could get our support correct, we could see the uptick in the economy that we're looking for. I mentioned when I started that I'm a daughter of an entrepreneur. My father started his business in the 70s when conditions were extremely difficult. And he ran those businesses for close to 3 decades. And therefore, I always get very inspired by the energy of entrepreneurs and looking to solve their problems. But at the same time, I think we must always just be very pragmatic as human beings, because the likes of Liz and how she started her business was not with a huge check or with huge orders from retailers. And therefore it leads to an ethos that I'd like to leave everyone with, is that we must always just start with what we have, so that what we have can grow into the bigger things that we are looking to achieve. I look forward to participating in the discussion today, and adding my views on things. And I really want to say that even though things are looking very difficult from a gender-based violence perspective, from an economy perspective, we as women do have the power to turn the situation around. And we do have everything we need right now to make the difference that is required. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. I'm going to ask everyone to switch on their videos so that we can start the panel discussion. Just to remind the audience, if you want to pop a question, you can send it directly to me through the admin, or you can share it with all in the chat function. And remember, today's hashtags are Heroic Women and also hashtag Sunday World, of course. So I want to ask the panel members, 30 seconds. We've I heard some of the answers in the earlier discussion. You already answered some of the questions that I was going to ask. But the first thing I want each of you, just a tad bit, tell me, do you see the glass for South Africa half full or half empty? One reason why. I'll start with you, Mamu Mthethwa. 30 seconds.
Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. I think for me, you can actually see this from both perspectives, from different perspectives. If you are seeing it and viewing it as half full, from a policy and legislative side, it is half full. However, it is half empty as well in terms of I was saying in terms of it's half full in terms of the policy and legislative framework that government has actually put in place. But it is half empty in that there is lack of implementation, a number of challenges, and almost a gap in relation to the leadership, whatever aspect. So the half fullness, we then need to actually put our minds and say, how do we then come up with interventions to make the cup full?
All right, so there's a half full, half empty. Dumi, what's your view? I see you smiling then.
So I'm an optimist, so I must always declare that I see the glasses as half full. And the reason I say this is that I think as South Africans, we're very tough on ourselves. And we always are very, very tough on ourselves. We beat ourselves up at any opportunity. If you compare what is happening around the world, there's a lot of things that have taken place in the current economic environment and even our social environment that has led us to this point. Some of them are of our own doing, some of them are not of our own doing. For example, if you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, nobody in the South African room was sitting somewhere developing this virus that has now changed our world to the way that it is. However, with each challenge, it presents a huge opportunity. In the small business world, there's an opportunity to pivot your business, take it to a different level, and look at new ways of operating. But even us as women, there's always opportunities. If I look at the policy environment now for women, I think our government has gone a long way to try and push the agenda for equality of women. However, it is in our hands to then grab those opportunities and ensure that we turn the glass from being half full to full, 100% full. So definitely half full from my view.
Liz, what's your view? Half full, half empty? You unmute, just unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I'll have to say half full simply because I believe that any glass that is either half full or half empty can still be filled up, right? So I'll think hopeful because I look at South Africa and I see all the lacking is the opportunities that we have. It's everyone, young, old, men, and everywhere you look, all the injustices, all the underservices, all the all the deprivations that are there present a void that can be filled by something or someone or some institution. If it glass is half full, it means it still has capacity to take a bit more. But I do like the approach that Uma Mbuthe has taken, that it's actually it doesn't have to be either or. I really find that fresh. I've never thought of or taken that stance, and I think it's a stance I might be willing to adopt going forward because I really think it's honest and it's true.
Last but not least, Tessa Dooms, what's your view?
Yeah, not to be a Debbie Downer, but for me it is half empty. And I say that because what's happened in our country in the post-92 moment has been a slow eroding away of our sense of hope and confidence. And we've gotten to a point, I think a lot of people just in the last year or so, we've seen the depleting of, efforts and energies and resources in a context that hasn't had a lot of hope. And I think it's important for us to recognize that because I always say to people, living in South Africa, particularly as a woman, is a very traumatic experience. And we sometimes overlook the trauma that comes with the struggles that we face on a daily basis. And so for me, saying half empty isn't a bad thing. It's just an honest thing. It's a thing that we need to hold ourselves accountable for the fact that we have allowed this kind of draining of what was a country that was looking forward to now becoming this country that is very stuck in the past and looking backward and looking at where we are. And I'd like to call us to action, to start thinking about the future again and start hoping differently and believing differently, because I think we haven't gotten to a point where we are a bit paralyzed, but not able to articulate exactly what it is that has got us here or what it is that we are feeling that's keeping us here.
Thank you. I like Avodia's comment in the chat where she says, together we can fill the glass. So Liz, in fact, Tessa, I want to start with you then. With the perspective that you've just come in, what do you think the role of financial aid capital in curbing this issue of problems that we encounter, particularly in the entrepreneurial space, you in the youth development space? We know that 64% of our youth are unemployed. We also know 74% with the expanded definition, and it's concentrated in different nodes. What would you say can be done to advance not only the youth that are on the fringes, but particularly Black women?
Yeah, I think that there's a responsibility that we have for what I call patriotic capital in South Africa to actually stand up. We have to recognize that besides poverty and unemployment, which is things that we talk about a lot in this country, one of our biggest challenges is really inequality. We are the most unequal country in the world. And it's important for people who have resources, who have opportunities, to recognize that you having opportunities on your own doesn't make South Africa better. And that there has to be an ethos of redistribution, an ethos of opening up spaces, an ethos of creating opportunities, and an ethos of creating way more balance in terms of what allows people into the door and what keeps people out of the door. For my sake and for the purposes of youth development, I think that the central thing that we need is a sense that we believe in people in this country, that we take seriously that everybody has something to offer and everybody is worth more than they've been told that they've been worth in the past. Particularly young women and young people generally need to know that their efforts are valued. And so if there's one call of action I would make is give young people fair value for the efforts that they make. Whether the value is in the jobs they already have, whether the value is about supporting the ideas that they have when they haven't even started their entrepreneurship journey, whether giving that value is in rewarding social labor that is done by many social activists in this country and young people who are doing care work in their communities, in their families, young women who are having to raise families and raise children and raise communities. We don't reward the work that's done in the social economy in this country enough. And I think that's where it lies for me, is that we need to start seeing the efforts that young people bring to the table as valuable contributions and start rewarding fair value for the things that young people do, as opposed to only saying, you know, only if you look a certain way, act a certain way, or in a particular space, then we'll give you value. There's value everywhere that young people are creating every day, and our responsibility is to find it and to legitimize it.
Thank you, Tessa. Just want to remind our panelists to just mute themselves if they're not speaking. Very powerful remarks. My question pointed to you, Liz, is as a founder of a business, I want you to tell us a little bit about the issue of market access, right? A lot of the time we talk about we want to give youth an opportunity, we want to give Black women opportunities. What are your challenges and inhibiting factors, particularly around market access? And I just want to expand. When I talk market access, is if you want to develop a product, can you get it into retailers? What are some of the issues that you have found are needing to be responded to, particularly by someone like Dumi, who sits in small business development agencies? You can go.
Yeah. So Masudi Organics was started in my kitchen, you know, with hand tools and my plates and my pots. Moved into the garage when we got bigger, and ultimately then we moved into a working space. And the issue of market access was a very difficult one up front, simply because as someone who's producing, you know, the cosmetics in a kitchen, you can't walk into retailer X or Y and say, hey, here's my product, you know, can you please list it? For three reasons. One is there's a lot of regulatory requirements that you need to meet. You can't be making your product. If you do make your products in the kitchen, they have to be tested at the labs and I certainly didn't have those kinds of facilities in my kitchen. The second thing is, from a scaling perspective, if you're making your products in your kitchen or on a very small scale with hand tools, it's going to be very difficult if you want to get on retail shelves, because they say, can you provide X amounts of thousands of products per month? And that oftentimes then becomes a bottleneck for lots of small businesses. The last hurdle that I encountered was, you know, from a funding perspective, right? Overarching the first 2 points that actually I spoke about. In order to, you know, increase more capacity, you need to invest in CapEx. In order to be able to test some of these products, the average cost of testing my cosmetics products was about 20,000 rands in 2019, right? Per product. So that, again, is hugely expensive. You need to have some capital injection to support that. Do I think it's easy? I think there's with social media and you know, e-commerce, it's opened up the market a little. And what Masudi Organics then did on the first day when I said I'm launching my brand, I had an online store. When I had an online store and you had courier partners who could plug into the online store, I knew that I could go to my social media people and say, hey, here's a product. This is the value proposition for it. This is where you can buy it, link to online store. This is how we can deliver to you. We had the courier partners. So of course, from that perspective, then we sort of are starting to have the ability and capacity to create our own markets, which is this e-space that allows even small players to come in and compete. And then you build a brand over time, very slowly, and in a very sometimes painful way, right? To a point where actually your brand gains legitimacy, your brand gains some collective intensity and some critical mass, and people are starting to demand it a little bit more. Guys, I went to store X, I didn't find the product. When is it coming to store Y? And these people are also watching, because these then become the kind of product that drive traffic to the retailers. So now you're not so much now trying to push a lot your product. You're both doing a push and you're also getting a bit of a pull. In terms of getting into retailers, I do not think it's an easy process, but I think it's easier than what most people would imagine. So what I would say to a lot of people who have, you know, products that they're trying to pitch to retailers, go forth, you know, prepare a very solid pitch deck, have a clear value proposition, what's in it for them, but also be clear about, you know, your roadmap in terms of your growth over the years, because retailers understand, as a small Masudi Organics coming into, you know, their stores, I'm very small, and of course, in comparison to some of the legacy brands, I'm not going to push nearly close, you know, as the volumes that they do. But if I can show them my intention and my ambition, they just might buy into, you know, the proposal. So be bold and pitch authentically.
No, that's encouraging. I think there's hope. You can start in the kitchen and end up in e-commerce, but also on the shelves of some of the retailers. A difficult one for you, Dumi. I'm going to tackle you a little bit as the exec who's coming in, helping us through the SEFA agency. Some of you may not know, it's Small Enterprise Finance Agency run through the Department of Small Business Development. Tell us one example, right, of a business that you've seen grow considerably from your interventions. It could be either at SEFA or while you were an exec and the investment head of Masisizane Fund at Old Mutual. But what is it that you do? Because there's a lot of noise saying there's inefficient support, you know, to businesses. But I know that there've got to be some examples that you can share quickly. And also there's a question that I want to link it to. How do you help women get into retail? How do you help them break the supply chain? All right.
Thanks, Nthabiseng. So I think people will think that this is rigged, but Liz actually is one of the businesses that we have supported, and not only through SMME Finance, but also through the market access piece by increasing her opportunities within one of the large retailers. But I'll park Liz aside because the people will think it's rigged. There's a wonderful also manufacturing business called CTM Manufacturing. It's inspired me quite early on in my career because it's run by women, 100% women. It's a co-op that does. They sew linens for hospitals and all the kind of, the scrubs that doctors use in hospitals. I first met this entrepreneur, or the lady who was really in charge of the co-op. She was a very, very humble human being. And she just said to me, look, all I'm looking for right now, I've got a particular order. And all I'm looking for is 800,000 Rand to bridge me for this order. And I said to her, okay, well, we'll work through the process, and we helped her access that funding. And then once she paid back that funding and showed that she was capable, I then said to her, look, have you thought about growing your business? I think at that point, her business was doing turnover of around 5 or 6 million. And she looked at me and she said, look, I mean, all I'm concerned about is that co-op members must just get their salary at the end of the month. I said, there's lots of scope. Roll forward a long story is that over years, we worked with that business and it ended up turning over in excess of 40 million Rand. We were able to help them access not only contracts in the government side through Department of Health, but also through Netcare, which then transitioned into the private sector. So there's many businesses that I think over the years I've drawn inspiration from, seeing them grow. And I really do hope a business like Masodi will also become a household brand. I mean, people don't know you can buy. I bought. So what I like to do, because I'm an SMME practitioner, is before I think about whether this product is something that we should back, I actually bought one of Masodi's products from Takealot, and I got it delivered to the following day. And then I actually tested it, and I was like, oh, okay, so this thing is actually real. Because when you're an executive and you're sitting at credit committees, you can be told all sorts of things by the people coming to present a proposal. But until you see a product and feel it and touch it, then you know, is this something I want to back? And is this something that we want to go the journey with? I also just want to say to women who are running businesses, the Department of Small Business is running a market access program. And that market access program is open to any women who are manufacturing products locally. So there is a drive, and through that drive, there's about in excess of 200 products, South African products, that have been listed with retailers through that program. So if you are on this webinar and you are looking to grow your business, you're manufacturing a product, please contact the Department of Small Business through their website, and there is a program to help you. Thanks.
Thanks to me. Before she turns this to a marketing pitch, I'm going to go to Mama Mteto. She's a formidable businesswoman who sat in various boards, chaired and been president of NAFCOC, Tenova and AHVest PTY. And I want to ask her for her advice and insights on women, not just in business, but also in any sector who want to reach the pinnacles or I'd say the epitome. What advice would you give them, not only to massify, but to really have impact? as someone who has walked the walk?
Thank you for that question, and Thabiseng. I think for me, the first part is having confidence in yourself. But how do you actually have that confidence? The confidence, it is about knowing and understanding the industry in which you operate in. And to your earlier words, emphasizing the fact that knowledge basically is important. It is important in that when you empower yourself technically, you enhance your confidence of being able to engage at any platform. Now, when you have your confidence you then have an appreciation of the differences in gender, but knowing that you are the same as the other gender. I always say to women, we must avoid wanting to be victims all the time. Get into a space being knowledgeable in terms of the technicalities of the industry, but also making sure that you know the prescripts that drive a particular institution that you are in. In that way, you're confident you can engage at whatever level without seeing the other party's gender. And by so doing, you earn the respect of your colleagues by not playing victim mentality, because what you put on the table, they respect you because of how you articulate yourself and the know-how of the industry. So for me, the advice to women, it is about that. Empower yourselves. Empower yourselves. Be articulate in the topics that are presented through to you. How do you do that? You do that by empowering yourself by knowledge, because it's tit for tat within that space that you operate in. And going back to my earlier comments, which I never want to underplay, the values of humility. But the key skill in leadership, it is about listening to people and being able to respond to the issues that are put on hand, but also being a positive influence in terms of guiding people all the time. It is one space that I truly, truly appreciate. Sometimes I wonder and sit, because I find myself in male-dominated areas throughout, and I never feel short of myself. I'm always confident. Even at Tenova, as chairperson of Tenova, in that board, I'm the only woman. And I'm like, is this by design or what? I don't know, but I always find myself within that space. And I have reflected on myself and said, how have I been able to do that? I assure you, I don't see gender. I really don't. I know that males are there, but I don't. When I get into a space, I just present myself in terms of what I know and what needs to be discussed in terms of the knowledge, and that's it. So how can I encourage other women? It is about that. Let's not play victim mentality. Let's empower ourselves and make sure that we know what we're talking about. That's it.
Thank you. If I was in a live room, I'd say let's give a round of applause to all of our panelists for their really remarkable inputs. I'm going to give them each one line to tell me what is their dream for every woman who is here. What is your dream? And we will be closing the panel discussion. Nombulelo, I think your question was answered. There are no other questions in the panel that was poised. The question she had asked is, what are some pragmatic solutions to reduce economic inequality? And I think the issue of market access, the issue of equipping yourself, the issue of accessing some of the products that have been spoken about. What Tessa has also initiated, looking and finding the value in our youth. And I think some of those issues are touching on your question. But if there are any other questions, you can put it through. Please, can I start with you, Liz? What is your dream? One line for the women of South Africa. Then I'll go to Tessa. Then I'll go to Buhle, and I'll end with you, Dumi. You're on mute. Just unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
One
So
line.
I'm saying my dream for the woman of South Africa is for her to have an opportunity to succeed or fail on her own terms.
Excellent. Wow. Tessa?
My dream for the women of South Africa is that they are acknowledged as people first and never thought of as incapable or incompetent or in need of something special simply because they're women, that their womanhood is seen as a benefit to them and not something that will hold them back.
Mamam Tetwa? Just unmute, we can't hear you. Maybe Dumi can come in while she's trying to unmute.
Sure. So my dream is a mantra that I live by, is that South African women can remember that a candle never loses its light by lighting another candle. So we actually have the power to uplift each other, and we do not have to depend on others. So if you are enlightened, if you are empowered, empower another woman.
Thank you, Dumi. And last but not least, Mamam Tetwa.
My dream is that women embrace who they are and consolidate their skills, more especially skills of leadership, because the future of South Africa relies on women. We have a major role to play going forward. For this country to be stable and sustainable, we need all the skills of women, and let's enhance that, and indeed will take this country to levels for generations to come.
Thank you so much to our panelists. Because we cannot clap hands, I'm going to clap hands for them, and I'd ask to clap hands for each other. And we're about to go into the session that we've all been waiting for, where we are going to see our nominations for today, and want to encourage the people who are attending. Please stay on for us to see our heroic women being shown, and we're going to see across different designations in academia, business, agriculture, and environment, and in construction, all the nominees, and I congratulate all the women who have been nominated today, and I hand over to the IT to show the slideshow. While we wait for them to show the clip that they are going to show us, what I wanted to say is my dream for the heroic women of South Africa, but also for those who are not necessarily where they want to be, is that each and every one of us will participate in our destiny. Okay, we've got the slideshow showing. So I'm going to introduce the title, and then I will allow for the presentation to go ahead. Women in Academia and Education. The nominations are Maud Sibolanga, who is at Cure Holdings Executive Head. Professor Nomusa Makubu, an Associate Professor in Art in the History and Michaelis School of Fine Art and Deputy Dean of Transformation at UCT. Dr. Babalwa Makokwana, who is at the Center for Women and Gender Studies at Nelson Mandela University. Dr. Lindy Wetsope, who's a project coordinator at Auram Institute. Professor Rachel Jessica Singh, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation and Partnerships. Joy Sikolo, Executive Director for Strategy and Performance. Both women were from Limpopo. Khomotso Mampopa, Executive Director for Library and Information Services, University of Limpopo. Prof. Satsope Maote, Executive Dean, Faculty of Humanities. Prof. Tebogo Motiba, Acting Executive Dean, Faculty of Health Sciences. Mamokgadi Masete, Acting Chief Financial Officer. Dr. Motaki Masiba, Dean of Students. Isabella Makura, Disability Desk Chairperson for the Transitional SRC. Prof. Wilmeen Luce Powell, Professor and Chairholder for the NRF SARC Chair. Prof. Mamalatswa Maruma, Director for the School of Education. Prof. Owense Chabaya, Acting Director, Center for Academic Excellence. Machidiso Matebula, Acting Director for the School of Economics and Management. Maureen Dalane, Acting Director, Marketing and Communication. Ingrid Fourie, Director, HR, Recruitment and Placement. Dina Diale, Human Resources Officer. Alidal van Dijk, Director, Rural Development and Innovation Hub. Jasmina Patel, Chief Audit Executive. Prof. Nontleba Mbambo Kekana, Director, International Affairs. Dr. Makololo Mohane, Director, Center for Student Counseling and Development. Mokhadi Mohokong, Lecturer in the School of Law. Dr. Janeke Thumbren, History Lecturer at Rhodes University. Dr. Retabile Mashala Sonebare, Molom Shlaba School. Prof. Busisiwe Mrara, Mkhacha, Walter Sisulu University. Dr. Smangele Evidence Gumede, University Capacity Development Program Manager. Women in Business and Industry.
For women in business and industry, we have Lufuno, I'm going to mispronounce your name, Lufuno, I apologize. Into Tuni, founder of Mfuno Designs, my apologies for that. Morosi Ramonye, founder and managing director of Bureni Energy. Tandeka Sibusumuzi Ngobesi, station manager at Inanda 88 for FM and founder of Unique Magazine. Jessica Lane Labati, founder of Jessica Lane and mother of Out Label. Farah Shivane Fortune, director of Padran and African Stock Conditions. Suela Sweetness Mahosa, founder of Suela Wines. Basha Swalhe Shepane, founder of Sister Basha Medical Practice. Molebong Mahle, CEO of Mahle Holdings and Body Swan Media. My apologies again. Boitumelo Insane, Director of On Point Healthcare. Mtaboleng Kawe, CEO of Fezi Auditors and Consultants and major shareholder at Opulentia Financial Services. Women in Agriculture. Guleto Mhlongo, CEO and Director of House of Harvest, CEO of Managing Director of GMS Dream House Constructions. Mabatu Portia Murodi, founder of the Village Market Africa. Megan Angus, marketing executive at Woodview Gourmet Foods. Nonkululeko Britain, founder of Kula Organic Farm. And that takes us to the Women in Environmental and Sustainability.
Science.
Xoli Fuyani, Earthchild Project Coordinator of Environmental Education in Schools Program. Rotondwa Musita, Trash Converters. Dora Marema, Head of Municipal. Dr. Pili Lembata, Lecturer at the University of Cape Town's Environmental and Geographical Science Department. Ferial Adam, Environmental Justice Activist and Researcher. Kathy Dreyer, Head Ranger, Range Services at Kruger National Park. Fatima Savell, Acting Director of Compliance at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. Makosazana Kosi Mavimbela, Executive Director at the Forest Sector Charter Council. Innocentia Nontogozo Magubani, Youth Environmental Coordinator at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. Elvery Grandia Basson, Municipal Youth Environmental Coordinator at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. Nthalle Stella Naike, Senior Forecaster at the South African Weather Service. Pumza Ndamase, Member of Ratanang Cooperative. Tembi Gertrude Nganda, Coordinator of Community Outreach Program at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. Women in Healthcare. Dr. Tubeli Ngubani, Gugagahle NPC. Dr. Nonhlanhla Mzila, National Bioproducts Institute. Mambe Elisa Kwenyama, Unjani Clinic Butabelo. Dr. Gio Dabane, Sancton Oncology, Director, Specialist Physician, Medical Oncologist.
Women in Science and Innovation.
Lulega Ngwabeni. Lulekwa Ngwabeni. Amanda Kandawire Koza, or founder of Fly Like a Girl and Layover Art. Leslie Donna Williams of Tsimolong Hong Precinct. Dr. Maggie Yankees, Head of Innovation at Telkom. Kapeleng Rabana, founder of Rekindle Learning and founding partner. Pebble Tabile Hlubi from Kaleidoscope, Pivot. Professor Piliswa Nosizo Nomgcoco, Water Quality Monitoring. Fumulani Ramu Khwato.
Dorcas Likhanyane, traditional wellness academic and researcher.
Tebogo Pestina Mashile. Nobubele Puza. Dr. Zakira Dokret. Dr. Mahafede Lucia Mtswane. Dr. Jacqueline Mudli. Dr. Matabata Ivodia Sitati. Dr. Sinentlantla Precious Kosana. Matsatsi Shai. Professor Lunik Basekoza. Professor Michelle Ramsey. And last but not least, Ms. Toto Makaba.
Women nurturing in the community. Ntombikaisa Miso, Radio 2000 presenter. Pretty Girl Matebula, principal at Twebezela Primary School. Shanaz Paruk, CEO of Penny Appeal SA. Emihle Bande, humanitarian. Nomsa Kupi Manaka, Nomsa Manaka Dance Studio founder. Now we have women in sports, arts, and culture. Leila Gibbons, Rough Cut Studio marketing director. Nomvelo Shezi, Mvelo Promotions. Tembi Khatlana, international football star. Simnigiwe Nikki Sondlo, Nikki's Oasis Jazz Restaurant owner and director.
Women in construction and engineering. Mama Wethu Mampo, Sochongaye, Golden Rewards 1981, CC. Pepane Melesi, Melesi Enterprise. Tlaisane Sono, Money Builders, Construction and Projects. Leti Mashau, CEO of Moteo Construction Group. Dimakato Sylvia Popingunyane, Tato Yabocello Trading and Projects. Pongo Pule, Executive Director of AfriBiz Invest. Gugu Muledi, Managing Director of AfriBiz Construction. Langutelani Matebula, General Manager of AfriBiz Training. Tulufelo Josimoto, General Manager of Key Capital. Faith Mashawana, General Manager of AfriBiz Infrastructure Practitioners. Jeanette Machacha, IT Technician at Palco Link. Andy Siwe Kaba, Quantity Surveyor at Vava Construction. Stemgosi Chabalala, Tender Buyer. Jam Shandegi, Operations Administrator. Tandazwam Joli, Quantity Surveyor. Eugenia Minyuku, Site Agent. I hand back to Mr. Mbele. I want to thank the panelists for their amazing contribution in today's session. I want to thank also those who joined and engaged during the engagement, but more so importantly for those who are attendees today and who have been nominated again to give you a very warm round of applause and to congratulate you as we await the outcome from Wally. I hand over to you, Wally. Thank you. Thank you. He's joined. We had a slight technical glitch there. Mr. Mbele, I hand over to you. And I was just thanking the panelists and those who have joined us for today and just giving a round of a congratulatory remark to all of our heroic women that the Sunday World has chosen to honor in today's webinar. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ntabiseng. Thank you, Dr. Ntabiseng. First of all, I'd like to say this event would never have been possible without the support of AfriBiz Investment, Kagiso Trust, University of Limpopo, the University of Johannesburg, Department of Science and Innovation, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, and also the Faranani Properties Group. We thank all of these companies for their unwavering investment into this project. Our sincere appreciation goes to the selfless Sunday World team for making it possible that this event is realized, especially Brett, Anastasia, Siama Jola, and Ashley Lichman. I would like to thank our panelists for their thought-provoking insights which permeated today's discourse. The human ability to dream and reach our potential has become a pressing question of our time. Dr. Mleko's message that she's the best version of herself is still reverberating in the chat room. That is the version which I believe teaches us to be true to ourselves and never be false to anyone. We have been called here today to dare to begin and not see the problems, but see opportunities. We have been taught about the highest value of thinking less about our failures today, but to think more about our strengths. One of the greatest boxers of all the times, Muhammad Ali, hated every minute of training because it was hard, but he refused to quit. He says he chose to suffer in training because he wanted to live the rest of his life as a champion. That is what he did. And that is what we have been taught to do here today. To our guest speaker, Dr. Mleko, our panelists, and the rest of the heroic women, Sunday World would like to thank you for agreeing to become part of this audacious movement of Sunday World heroic women. We have given birth to a powerful movement today, and everybody who is present today, I can say it confidently that we have all become the ambassadors of the Sunday World heroic women. Thank you very much. Just a last reminder, I would like all the winners to phone our office for their certificates and also to receive our humble gift in the form of Dr. Mleko's book. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us to pay tribute to the Sunday World's 2021 heroic women. Each and every one is a trailblazer, spearheading a better future for all. And we are privileged to have honored them all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Farah Fortune and I'm the owner and director of African Star Communications. I'm a publicist by profession, but I also work in the women empowerment field as well as social development. I live in Johannesburg and I'm also the founder of the Pad Run. I started the Pad Run in May 2020 when I realized there was a huge gap in access to sanitary wear during the pandemic. I was able to raise 100,000 Rand through a birthday initiative, which was able to see us distribute 10,000 packs of sanitary pads across the country. Thank you very much to everyone who contributed to that. We were able to register the Pad Run, and now we do some amazing work through workshops on menstruation as well as distributing much needed sanitary wear. Thank you very much to Sunday World and nominating me as an unsung hero in the Women Leaders in Business and Industry category. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Farah. Hi, my name is Ferial Adam. I am an environmental justice activist. I live and work in Johannesburg. I work in the area of water, energy, and climate change. The challenges in our environmental sector are immense, and I'd like to make a positive change by building people's capacity to monitor our water resources. It can be done, it is being done. So that is something I'd like to do in a much bigger way. I must say I'm really humbled to be nominated in the Environment and Sustainability category in the first ever Sunday World Heroic Women category. I am really excited to be part of this. And, this past year and a half has been a challenge for all of us. But what we have learned is that people are resilient and we are powerful to take action and make a difference in our lives. And that is the power of women. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Nomusa Makubu. I am an associate professor in art history at the Michaelis School of Fine Art at the University of Cape Town. I was born in the Vaal area in Gauteng. As an art historian and artist whose research focuses on African popular culture and exploring changing conceptions of public space, collective action, and artistic citizenship through the themes of memory, resistance, race, and gender, I was fortunate to be the recipient of the Absa Latelier Gerard Sekoto Award and the Prix du Studio National des Arts Contemporains, Le Fresnoy. I joined UCT in 2014 and became a Deputy Dean in Transformation in 2020. I am deeply grateful to be nominated as one of the heroic women in the country for the category of Women in Academia in the first ever Sunday World Heroic Women campaign. As a young woman who always strives for justice, I believe that this nomination will inspire others to push for social change and fulfill their quests in being the best of themselves they could be, and in contributing to the lives and successes of other young women. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Basha Tlhapane. I'm the CEO of Sister Basha Family Nursing Practice. I live in Cape Town. I founded this initiative in April 2020. I'm quite excited to be nominated in the Business and Industry category in the first ever Sunday World Heroic Women campaign. The aim of my practice is to raise awareness on childhood diseases. Since 2007, my vision and aim has always been about the welfare of children. And now I'm even more privileged to do even a greater work with regards to pro bono medical and surgical processes within the private or the provincial sector, which means that all the children born or are living with disabilities are able to get the full necessary attention and even a broader spectrum when it comes to legal and education support. The journey itself of starting my practice was not an easy one. However, giving up was just not an option. Amidst the pandemic, I was able to accomplish all that I was able to accomplish, and just leaving you with the motivation that if you put your mind to it, you can definitely do it.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Nonhlanhla Fortunate Nzila. I am a medical scientist. I am from Durban North in KwaZulu-Natal. I am the head of biotechnology department at a company called National Bioproducts Institute situated in Pinetown, KwaZulu-Natal. As a scientist, I manufacture diagnostic medical devices that assist in better management of diseases, especially those diseases that affect the African continent like malaria. In my capacity as a Sunday school teacher, I empower young boys and girls to be spiritually grounded and to live a purpose-driven life. I am humbled and excited to be nominated in the category of Science and Technology in the first ever Sunday World Heroic Women campaign. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanaz Parikh, Chief Executive Officer of Penny Appeal South Africa. I reside in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. I've been with Penny Appeal since inception in 2017, and we have an aim of providing relief to vulnerable communities. We implement a range of fantastic initiatives and projects focused on orphans and vulnerable children, water, hygiene, sanitation, gender-based violence, advocating for the rights of females and girl children, as well as domestic abuse helplines and assistance. I really want to be able to share the work that we do, and I'm really thrilled in terms of being able to have the opportunity to produce positive change in the community. We really want to be able to transform communities out of the poverty cycle. I'm grateful and humbled to be a part of the first ever Sunday World Heroic Women campaign. This is for everybody who strives to make a difference in the world, and to all the other females, I am because you are. Thank you for your support.
Hi, my name is Leslie Donna Williams. I'm the CEO of Wits University's Tshimologong Digital Innovation Precinct. We're downtown in Braamfontein. My mission is to normalize African excellence around the world. To do so, we need everyone to live their full potential regardless of the life they were born into. My job entails the development of an ecosystem of academia, the public and private sector, to develop world-leading African digital entrepreneurs through skills and entrepreneurship development. I've been in my position for 4 years now. I'm proud to be nominated as one of the heroic women in the country for the category of Women in ICT and Science for the first ever Sunday World Heroic Women campaign. I've always pursued meaningful work and hope that this nomination will